Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be talking about Lesson 6, HIV and AIDS. Our agenda for the day includes the following. We have checking your answers to yesterday's blood type handout with the key that is attached below. You're going to be filling out your notes for the lesson for today with the PowerPoint slides that are attached here and using this video. And last but not least, we're going to be completing the HIV activity that is also attached here. It's another handout for you to answer some questions based off of the material that we will be learning about today. Therefore, let's jump right on into it. Today, we're going to be talking about HIV and AIDS. And in previous lessons, we've been talking about the immune response, the body's immune response, and how there are 3 lines of defense. And remember, there is the first, second, and third line of defense. The first are your outside barriers, the second is non-specific, and our third is specific immunity with antibodies and antigens. So today we're going to be talking about a specific virus, specifically HIV, and what exactly it does to the body and how exactly it affects the immune system of the body. So your first slide in your student notes is separated into 3 questions. The 3 slides that we're about to do, you're going to be able to fill out these 3 questions with the 3 slides that we're about to go through. So make sure you're going through and just putting the information that we're about to go through in this section before jumping into the next slides. So let's take a look. HIV was first identified in 1983, and HIV is a virus, the human immunodeficiency virus. And it is a tiny virus that consists of a couple of things. The first thing is that it's 2 single strands of RNA. That's what this virus consists of. There's a few enzymes within the virus, and it is all enclosed in a protein coat. So that's kind of the general overview of what exactly this virus is, what it looks like, and what's held inside. And you can see it here. We have the RNA strands. We also have the protein coat around it. So let's take a look. What does it affect? What are HIV and AIDS? Let's read through. So the human immunodeficiency virus gradually attacks the immune system, which is our body's natural defense against illnesses. So if a person becomes infected with HIV, they will find it harder to fight off infections and diseases. So I want you to use this and consolidate and put it in your own words of what exactly HIV is doing. Again, HIV is gradually attacking the immune system. Now, AIDS is a syndrome caused by HIV. And it is when a person's immune system is too weak to fight off infections and develops when HIV is advanced. So when HIV advances, AIDS can occur when the immune system isn't able to fight off infection. And again, AIDS is the last stage of HIV where the body can no longer defend itself against various diseases, and if left untreated, could cause death. And currently, there are no cures for HIV. However, with the right treatment and support, people can live long and healthy lives. So I want you to take this slide and put it into your own words, consolidate what I just said about how HIV attacks the body and how it could possibly lead to AIDS. Moving into our next slide, we're going to be answering the question, what are consequences on the immune system? So this last question in your notes packet. So on to the next slide, let's talk a little bit about what exactly the virus is and what's going on with the virus. Why is it so special? So HIV, this virus, is actually a retrovirus. And it is a retrovirus because it contains RNA, not DNA. And retroviruses in general mutate a lot. They evolve over time, and they do this really rapidly. And this is the reason why it is so difficult to find a cure because of this evolution. It's rapidly changing as it's evolving and replicating. Just like the flu is a retrovirus, so is HIV. And you can think that, okay, with the flu, each year there's usually a new vaccine for the new strain of the flu. And that's exactly how HIV is. It's a virus that continually and rapidly evolves, making it hard to find a cure. And in addition to that, you can jot down these notes in that same spot. What are consequences on immune system? Let's talk a little bit about HIV affects the immune system. Now remember, lymphocytes had to deal with our specific immune response, that third line of defense. And remember, lymphocytes consist of T cells, B cells, and killer cells. HIV specifically has a major impact on T cells. And remember, T cells are the ones that recognize that there's a pathogen or an invader in the body. So let's take a look at what HIV is doing. HIV, this virus, uses lymphocytes, like T cells, to reproduce. Now, the lymphocyte is attacked by HIV, and that lymphocyte are T cells. The virus is going to eventually destroy those T cells that the virus is using to replicate in. Thus, a person with HIV has a lower than normal T cell count. Now, why would this be bad? Exactly. T cells, again, are the ones that recognize that there's an intruder in the body or a pathogen in the body. T cells, as we know, are our immune cells and help us fight against diseases. So when the T cells are low, that means that the body could get sick frequently and could get sick quicker. So taking a look at the next slide, and this is the next slide on your student notes packet as well, just kind of taking a look at this chart, it goes into what exactly is going on with HIV and what happens to the body when AIDS occurs. So let's first read these 2 points here. Once CD4 cells drop below a critical level, the immune system is ineffective and the patient has AIDS. So when looking at this graph, when exactly would there be cause for concern of AIDS? So looking at this primary infection, you can see that the line is going through here, but eventually comes down and goes past this critical level. Once it does that, the body has a higher percentage of getting AIDS, and therefore the immune system is no longer able to fight off diseases, and that can cause death. So let's say another pathogen, another bacteria comes into the body and attacks it. Your immune system has been so badly defeated by HIV that it turns into AIDS and it can't fight against any other pathogen that you may normally be able to fight. And patients with AIDS are very susceptible to opportunistic infection, like we just said, which may prove lethal and may cause death once we get past that critical level. Now let's talk a little bit about how HIV can be transmitted. Going from a no risk to lowest risk to highest risk, let's use these words here, these different descriptions of how HIV can be transmitted, and put it in the realm of no risk all the way up to highest risk. So let's take a look. No risk would be skin contact, toilet seats, mosquitoes. HIV cannot be transmitted, is not transmitted by just skin contact, toilet seats, or mosquitoes. Now going into the lowest risk of transmitting HIV to the highest. Saliva and kissing is on the lower end of being able to contract HIV. And as we go through this, the risk increases. So ingesting it, breastfeeding, childbirth, oral sex, sexual intercourse, and blood-to-blood contact is the highest. So you can see here that the highest risk is when bodily fluids are interchanged, especially blood-to-blood contact. So going through, let's take a look at what exactly AIDS is. When HIV attacks the body and attacks it for a long time, it can turn into AIDS. And AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome when your immune system cannot fight off pathogens. And remember, AIDS happens because of HIV. Could happen because of HIV. Let's go through these. You can write down your notes in your notes packet that goes along with this slide. So acquired relates to infectious nature of AIDS through transmission of the virus HIV. Now, immunodeficient relates to the way the disease cannot be resisted. Syndrome relates to the variations in the way that this disease can manifest. So people can develop different diseases because of their immune system not being able to fight off other pathogens that may come in. Now, the cause of AIDS is the HIV virus or the HIV retrovirus. And remember that selectively infects cells, specifically which ones? Exactly, T cells of the immune system, which disables the primary and secondary response to infection. Now, transmission, again, is through bodily fluids, through blood to blood contact, usually, and they're in particular fluids that could be transmitted from person to person. And there are some social implications that is discussed in this YouTube video. I want you to all take a look at the YouTube video here. It discusses personal accounts that people have had with HIV and their experience with contracting the virus and how they have lived their lives. And there are, in the video, they do discuss how there are stigmas out there that people have about the HIV virus that may not be true. So I want you to take a look at the social implications based off of this YouTube video and jot down some ideas that you find from this video. And also, after you watch that video, if you go through some of the social impacts here as well, so one of them, discrimination and stigma from those around, abuse and harassment, may not be able to find work, the list goes on. And there are also some economic impacts that play a role too. So again, take a look at that video, jot down some of your write down some of your own thoughts about the social impacts of HIV. And then once you're all set with that, lesson 7 will be for Monday. And so once you have all of your notes for HIV and AIDS, I'm going to ask you to go back into Google Classroom and head on into the handout that is attached. And you're going to go through using what we just described and using what we just discussed and go through and answer some of these questions based off of HIV and AIDS. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Please feel free to join the Google Hangout with any questions, or if you'd like to discuss any of the topics or material, I'd be happy to do so. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a great rest of your day.